No matter which generation you are from, you have certainly seen some changes over the years. Some things are better while other things are not. Regardless, we will always have our memories, and sometimes it's fun to look back on how things used to be. In this video, we will take a look at some normal things we never see anymore. It's no secret that cassette tapes ruled the 80s, and they're not something that you really see anymore unless you still have your old collection. But back in the day, these cassette tapes would fail and sometimes get tangled up in your cassette player. As a result, it was fairly common to see cassette tape innards strung out in the grass or along the highway, glimmering in the sunlight. When these cassette tapes failed, it was super frustrating, and even if it was your favorite Van Halen tape, it was going out the window. Back in the 70s and 80s, we did not have Google. When it came to research, you were going to have to go to the library to get it done. The only problem with that was the hours. Many people had encyclopedias at home, and they were not always new. Grocery stores sometimes sold them one volume at a time. They used this strategy in order to make people come in and continue shopping. At the very least, it could take 22 weeks or more, depending on the set, in order to make it a complete one. Some of the troubles that we saw in television shows and movies are no longer seen. For instance, how many times did we see someone catch on fire and then they had to stop, drop, and roll? Quicksand was another common problem in shows and movies. Both of these were things that we thought we would all face a lot more of in life because of what we had seen in entertainment. But something else that always struck me as odd is the dog catchers. Do you remember them? They always had the huge nets trying to catch the dogs, and I can't say that I've ever seen one of those used. Have you? Phones have changed a lot over the years, and most kids have no idea how to even dial a number on an old rotary phone. But a few other things that we never see anymore are answering machines, payphones, and Rolodexes. Something else that people never do anymore is memorize phone numbers. You never knew when you might need them on a payphone. And what about keeping change in your ashtray for those emergency calls? Does anyone ever do that anymore? Very few people even have an ashtray. Speaking of phones, when is the last time that you've seen a phone book? No, not the little puny ones in front of the grocery stores, but the huge thick ones that they had delivered to your house. You know the ones with the yellow pages and the white pages? Those things were thick, and they made the perfect booster seats and chairs when you didn't have one. If you've ever felt the weight of one, then you certainly knew how thick they were. So it was always interesting to watch some strong man rip it in half. Kids today will never understand the joy of watching this display of strength. At one time, smoking was everywhere, and no one ever thought anything about it. People smoked in the car, the house, grocery stores, and really just about anywhere. At one time, even places like McDonald's and Burger King had their very own branded disposable ashtrays. That is not the souvenir that you want your kids getting. When smoking was starting to get recognized as being bad, many places began to have smoking and non-smoking sections. There wasn't much point in it, though. It was all the same building with no separate ventilation. Non-smokers may even have to walk through the smoking sections just to get to the smoke-free area. Some of the airlines even had smoking sections. The crazy thing is the smoking section could be across the aisle from the non-smoking section. Once someone lit up a cigarette, the whole tube smelt like smoke. And when is the last time that you've seen an ashtray on an airplane? McDonald's playgrounds were something fun and challenging. Remember going in the Hamburglar? That thing was like the UFC octagon. Several kids may enter, but someone was going to get hurt. If you peeked out that top portal hole, someone could bump into you and make you fall. Eventually, McDonald's tried to get safer with ball pits. In actuality, those were probably worse. Kids would pee in their pants in those, and occasionally some kid would find a deuce in there. It was like one gigantic petri dish that was all an experiment. If you were a kid in the 70s, you probably idolized people like Evel Knievel. Kids would build the rickiest bike ramps that you've ever seen and then jump them with no helmet, elbow pads, or knee pads. Whoever had the highest air or longest jump would be the daredevil hero of the day. I rarely see kids doing this anymore, but I can sure drive past those old locations where legends were born in the neighborhood. In the 70s and 80s, we all had gigantic television sets, and it was completely normal. They were so heavy that they weighed about as much as a naval destroyer. No one was breaking in your house and stealing it. And if you had a game system like Atari or Nintendo as well as a VCR, then you felt a little rich. However, in order to get those things to work, you had to tune the television into Channel 3. Kids today know nothing about that struggle. Remember these old connectors? They were absolutely necessary at one time. Because of the events that took place on September 11, 2001, a lot of things changed. Security got a lot more strict on what you could carry onto a plane. But before that time, even if you weren't boarding a plane, things were just different. Prior to 9/11, you could walk right up to the gate in an airport terminal and wait for a loved one to arrive. It was not uncommon to see huge parties of people just waiting for others to come off the plane. A little earlier, we touched a little on purchasing encyclopedias in grocery stores, but there were a lot of other items offered. Many people collected green stamps and then used them to buy certain appliances and even patterned dishes that were offered inside the store. This was another genius way of getting people to come back in. Today, we no longer see green stamps or items that are offered in this way. Today, we can watch just about anything that we want at any time, but that wasn't always the case. When shows and movies came on television, we had to make a point of being in front of it. In order to make that happen, the TV guide was a must-have. Each week, we scanned through it and then made sure that we did not make any plans during something that we wanted to watch. Now, TV guides are a thing of the past, but for many of us, they will always be a special memory. At one time, television shows really knew how to hook you into watching. Even the theme songs that were used at the beginning were good at grabbing your attention. They used to have lyrics in them, and they would briefly tell you about the show. They were really like full songs, but today you hardly see that anymore. Do you remember how different the bathroom experience used to be? None of us had cell phones to entertain us, so people would take newspapers in there. If you did not have that, then there was always the trusty shampoo or conditioner bottles that you could read. Every household seemed to have the fancy soaps that no one was allowed to use. And what about the colored toilet paper? Bathrooms used to have a theme throughout the whole room. It's hard to believe, but all of these things were once completely normal. Now we never see them. What are some of the things that you never see anymore? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.